Alright you guys, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you guys my experiences with affirmation tape. So basically I started listening to affirmation tapes back in 2021. I remember this one very specific month. I was really miserable this specific month and very depressed. And reason being is because I was trying to manifest something in my life and I was constantly just affirming for it. And I was like affirming for it from the place of lack, in the sense that my old self-concept was down in the dumps and I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't even feel that if I deserved this to have this thing or not, but I was still affirming for it. Like I was still really just trying really hard to just manifest it in my life. And this was the time like I came across law of assumption, even though I had already manifested jobs and success on my YouTube channel, the other YouTube channel. I had already manifested that. I had already manifested specific amounts of money before discovering law of assumption. So I had experience in manifestation. But this very specific month, even though I thought I was working on my self-concept, I really was not. I was just really living in this fantasy and really just fantasizing about this desire rather than really manifesting it. So I remember being really depressed and really miserable this one month because I was really just trying hard to manifest this thing in my life using law of assumption, and law of assumption was still new to me. Okay, the whole thing of you're the source of everything, like every little tiny ass thing in your life is you. I was new to that. So at the end of this month, because nothing was really happening, I was like, you know what, fuck this shit. I'm not gonna affirm anymore. It's making me miserable. I am tired. So what I did, I decided to listen to this tape, Limitless Manifester by Dylan James. Basically what started happening is like 1 week in me listening to this affirmation tape, after a week I had this shift and this feeling state that I had never experienced in my whole entire life before. Like the way I was feeling back then, like right after 1 week of me listening to this tape, like I could not even back then I could not even like express it in words. Like even to this day, I cannot verbalize what I was feeling. Basically, it almost felt as if something negative has left my body. That was the exact same feeling. And it was almost as if I'm like this newborn baby again, or this new person altogether. So before I was manifesting jobs, money, yes, but I was not really shifting and evolving into a new version of myself entirely. So this was really new to me because I know in Limitless Manifester, that tape, Dylan James included affirmations like I'm worthy, I'm deserving. So maybe obviously this was the first time I was listening to those kinds of beliefs. So it's kind of understandable that I felt what I felt in just a week. Now it gets interesting. 1 week into this, I started feeling the shift. Not just the shift, I actually started seeing a lot of movement with the thing that I was manifesting the previous month, which made me miserable. So before listening to this tape, when I was like solely just affirming, mindlessly affirming it and everything else, I did not see any movement whatsoever with this thing. As soon as I started listening to this tape, I started feeling better about myself. I was no longer feeling depressed because I was already feeling a shift. I just started feeling good all over again, and I started feeling really good about myself. Like that self-esteem started to fall back into place to the point where I was at a point where I was starting to not give a flying fuck about this thing that I was manifesting, okay? So obviously I started seeing a lot of movement, okay? A lot of fucking movement. Now, this is just one part of it. Yes, eventually I did end up manifesting this thing, this person. I did end up manifesting them, if you're wondering. Okay, 20 days into me manifesting or listening to this affirmation tape, I manifested something I could not in my whole entire life imagine that I could have it. Okay, I made it so big in my head that I just couldn't even see myself as worthy and deserving of having it. Okay, even if I like forced myself to imagine me having this thing, I couldn't do it. Like my self-concept was so fucking low that I couldn't even force myself to imagine me having this thing. Guess what? As soon as I started listening to this tape, I naturally started having thoughts of me having this thing very naturally. Like I was not even forcing myself. Okay, I was not forcing myself. I very naturally started having thoughts of me having this thing, and I started feeling good about it. As in, I started getting this feeling that yeah, I think I deserve it. Yeah, I think I can have it someday. I was still thinking I can have it someday, but 20 days into me listening to this tape, I started having thoughts. Not just that, at the 20-day mark, I actually ended up receiving this thing. Okay, I actually ended up manifesting this thing, and it was a big deal for me. It's not right now, obviously, but it was a big deal for me back then. Obviously, I ended up losing it, in the sense that I couldn't sustain it for long, obviously, because my new self-concept didn't really solidify itself at that time, and it was almost as if I was seeing glimpses of this new version that I was evolving into. Okay, so yeah, I couldn't sustain it for long because of the self-concept didn't solidify itself well enough, and I was not even bothered because I didn't even want it in my life anyways. That was not my focus. Then obviously things were happening, so obviously I ended up manifesting the thing that I was manifesting that 1 month. I ended up manifesting that. My self-concept improved, how I was feeling about myself improved. I was seeing a lot of tiny manifestations, everywhere I was seeing evidence of, what my thoughts create. Like I was seeing it directly. Even the tiny things were popping up and showing me that, Simran, your thoughts create. So this was happening. So I kept on listening to Limitless Manifestor for a while. But after a while, it wasn't really doing anything for me, in the sense that I wasn't really seeing big changes. I was feeling good about myself, but nothing more than that. And yeah, it kind of felt as if the growth, the progress slowed down. And it wasn't doing anything for me anymore. So I realized maybe it's because I'm not really targeting my own limiting beliefs. I'm not really focusing on or including affirmations that focus on the things that I want to manifest in my life. So I made my own affirmation tape. Now, back then I had no idea how to find out your own limitations, so I couldn't do that, but I was able to still kind of include affirmations about the things that I wanted to have in my life. So back then, travel was not a normal thing in my experience, so I decided to include an affirmation like travel is normal in my life, I travel, something like that. Like I don't even remember what the affirmation was. And I also included some other affirmations regarding opportunities, jobs, because I wanted to manifest a new job back then, once again, and money and everything else. I included all those affirmations. I started listening to that. 1 month after me listening to that affirmation tape, I ended up traveling to Dubai, and the exact same year I also traveled to Singapore, I believe. And since then, travel has become this normal thing in my experience. I traveled quite a lot this year as well, so it's just fascinating to see how just that one affirmation tape and that one affirmation literally made something which was not normal in my experience so normal that I don't even think about it. It just happens in my life and in my experience. Okay, not just that, I also ended up manifesting the job that I was manifesting. Not just because of the affirmation tape, I was also following my manifestation routine back then as well with me listening to this tape, so maybe it kind of helped, I don't know, but I was also following a manifestation routine, so I cannot really speak much about it. But yeah, I did include affirmations regarding jobs and stuff. Okay, so all in all, I've manifested quite a lot through affirmations, like a lot of tiny things as well, like clear skin, healthy hair, change in style. I remember including an affirmation like which had something to do with styling myself, because I didn't like how I showed up as a person. I didn't like my style at all. Like it was dull as fuck. So I decided to include that in my affirmation tape. I was never comfortable wearing skirts, dresses. I was just overall never very comfortable in my feminine. So I just decided to include that affirmation. And guess what? Obviously my style changed without me having to do a lot. Like my whole wardrobe changed. Now I just fucking love wearing skirts. I love wearing dresses, and I'm very comfortable in my feminine. And I was not back then, like to the point where I used to be repelled by jewelry. Like I couldn't wear jewelry. It would just make me feel weird. I just used to get really awkward. And I know it's just stupid thing. Maybe because you've not experienced it, but for me it was very weird for me to wear jewelry, okay? I know why, because I was not comfortable in my feminine. And the reason why I was not comfortable in my feminine, I know exactly what I experienced as a kid for me to feel that way. But that all went away just because I was listening to these affirmation tapes. Okay, it doesn't matter if I included specific affirmations, if I was listening to my own affirmation tape or somebody else's. It just made me feel very comfortable in my own skin, and that's the reason why I started feeling really comfortable in my own feminine energy as well. So not just the things that I've manifested. Yes, I've manifested quite a lot. As I said, clear skin, opportunities, jobs, travel, healthy hair, change in style, but overall also I just shifted out from this state of being of somebody who just, who didn't feel good enough or who didn't feel comfortable in their own skin, to somebody who's just proud of herself, who's confident, who's relaxed, who feels secure, who knows she is more than just good enough and stuff like that. Like I've shifted quite a lot. Now that I look back at that older version, I do not even recognize her, like even physically. I'm gonna jump on the next part, but all in all, what I'm trying to say is I've manifested a lot using affirmation tapes, and the major thing for me was this shift that I have manifested in my own self, in the sense that right now I'm very much content with myself and my life. Even if I'm like working on some goals, even if I'm like focusing on consciously manifesting some goals, overall I'm a very happy, content person. And all thanks to affirmation tapes. Now I also want to share some more stories. So after all this happened, after me manifesting these tiny things, there was this one thing that I also wanted to manifest, which was I wanted to end a pattern I was playing out in this relationship with this person I was with. I was constantly playing out a pattern, okay? I wanted to end this pattern. And now at this point, I understood that I'm the cause. But I was still not, I still didn't study this deep enough to know how, to the point where I couldn't, find out my own limitations, couldn't see where I was going wrong in my own belief system. So what I ended up doing is I ended up including very specific affirmations about what I wanted to experience in this relationship. And I was very specific about everything, and I included all this affirmation, and I started listening to that affirmation tape. What started happening is I slowly started getting ideas. I slowly started getting insights into my own consciousness, in the sense that I could now, for the first time in my whole entire fucking life, see where I was going wrong mentally in my belief system for me to create and play out this pattern over and over again. Like I could now clearly see it, and it only happened when I actually started listening to this affirmation tape. It didn't happen before that. So I assumed maybe because I'm listening to these affirmation tape, and maybe because I'm listening to these specific affirmations, my mind is literally now helping me out in finding those limitations. And it gave me ideas about approaches that I can implement in my manifestation routine for me to materialize this outcome of getting rid of this pattern. All right. So I ended up implementing that. I was really disciplined, and I kid you not, I ended that pattern in just a month. And not just that, I shifted out quite a lot. Like I shifted out from that old version who was playing out this pattern constantly, and I became just somebody very, very new that I could never even imagine. So I can only assume that me listening to those specific affirmations really nudged my brain, and it almost as if, again, as I said, if it felt as if my brain was helping me, because obviously it had to materialize this outcome for me. And one way of doing it is giving me ideas to approaches that I can take, giving me insights into my own consciousness so that I can implement it in my routine. It can be different for you, it can be different for me. Maybe I ended up getting ideas to implement, maybe because I was so much into studying law of assumption. Maybe you're different, maybe you get different nudges, I don't know, but that's how it worked out for me. And I ended up ending that pattern, lifelong pattern that I played out in every fucking relationship in a whole entire fucking life, and couldn't understand why it kept happening to me. Okay, so this happened, and this same exact thing happened with a very specific amount of money that I wanted to manifest. And this was the time where I decided, you know what, jobs 9 to 5 aim for me and I don't want this shit anymore. So I had decided to manifest a very specific amount of money in my life, and I again included that affirmation in my affirmation tape. I was still very much confused as to, like money in general, like how money relates to me and how money reflects me and stuff like that. Okay. I was confused about it, and because as I mentioned, I was always into studying law of assumption. You're the source, you're the God, this, that. So I was always curious about like how money relates to me, like how money reflects me. Okay. So I added this affirmation, this very specific affirmation that I wanted to manifest this specific amount of money, and started listening to it. Same thing happened. Slowly I started getting ideas about new approaches that I could take and implement in my manifestation routine, and insights into my own consciousness. Obviously, I became aware of my own limitations, and also I had this download this one day, and this download was about money, like what money actually is and how I should approach it and how money relates to me and like how it reflects me. It was deep as fuck. I got up, I wrote it down. I think I wrote it down on my notes app, and yeah, obviously I implemented what my mind gave me, the ideas that my mind came up with. I implemented those ideas in my manifestation routine, and I did end up making that amount of money. And the amount of money used to be really abnormal for my older version, for my old self. It used to be a big deal, but obviously when I ended up manifesting it, I already had normalized it enough for me to actually manifest it. So I will make a separate video on money, by the way, and about this thing this download that I got, because it's deep as fuck. But yeah, all in all, it really helped me in understanding myself and how how money relates to me and how money reflects me. The exact same question that I had in my mind, I literally got the answer I was looking for. Okay, so yeah, that happened. And recently, one of my affirmation tape, again, now I only create my own affirmation tapes because I know how to look for limitations and target those directly. Recently, one of my affirmation tapes really helped me in getting out of an art block. I was stuck in this art block for 2 years, and as soon as I started listening to this affirmation tape where I had included affirmations about me being an amazing artist, I think 1 week into listening to this affirmation tape, I was so inspired for the first time in 2 years to create an artwork or to create more artworks, to just draw. All right, I was just so out of nowhere, I was so inspired to do that, and I wasn't shocked because I knew it's just this affirmation tape which is making me do this. Okay, because I have so much experience in listening to affirmation tapes, and I've seen shifts happening so many times that obviously now it's easy to understand why these things are happening. Even like now that the new affirmation tape I've started listening to, I think I started listening to it 3 days back. And what I did is I included affirmations in this affirmation tape in both the languages that I speak in, English and Hindi. So I included those affirmations in this tape, and oh my god, the shift that I'm already feeling. It's been only 3 days, and this is the third day, like today's the third day, and what I'm feeling today is just, and also what I'm feeling about what I'm manifesting is just totally new. So yeah, I mean, I am already feeling a shift. So all in all, affirmation tapes are amazing. What I have seen is with affirmation tapes is that if I'm only listening to affirmation tape, not following any manifestation routine, the growth, I do feel the shift. I do end up manifesting the small things, but with the bigger things, it's almost as if I'm always getting the ideas about approaches that I could take and implement in my routine to manifest it. Maybe it's going to be different for you. This is the way it is for me, at least. And I do end up implementing things in my routine and end up manifesting the things that I want. But what I've seen is I cannot just listen to affirmation tape, because then I do feel the shift, but the progress is still very slow if I'm not following a manifestation routine. And if I am only following a manifestation routine, then it feels like I'm forcing myself to believe these new affirmations, the new ideas about myself and the desire that I want to manifest. And it feels like I'm forcing myself, and I do not feel the shift as instantaneously as I would if I was listening to an affirmation tape. So I always make sure that I'm listening to affirmation tapes, and I also am following a manifestation routine throughout the day to take care of those negative thoughts and to make sure I'm not contradicting myself and my own desires throughout the day as well. And that's how I speed up the process of me manifesting the thing that I want to manifest, okay? So, all in all, if you are not listening to affirmation tapes and you're then coming in the comment section and telling me you're not feeling the shift, this is why. Like, you need it in your routine, all right? At this point, I cannot see myself going without affirmation tapes anymore. Like, even if I'm not manifesting anything, I'm still listening to affirmation tapes. That's how much I love these, because affirmation tapes, they have like changed my whole entire life. They have changed me. And if I show you who I was 4 or 5 years ago, you wouldn't be able to believe that that's who I used to be before. So that's how powerful they are. They support the shift. They support you if you are manifesting so-called big things, because there's nothing big. It's just our perception. So they support you in shifting into becoming this new person, this new version of yourself. They support you in focusing on your desires correctly, and they also help you in getting new thoughts very naturally about your desire. So if you are not already listening to affirmation tapes, you're missing out, okay? You are literally missing out on huge progress that you could have if you were listening to affirmation tapes. So I have nothing but good things to say about affirmation tapes. And now I only listen to my own tapes. Like, I'm really good at finding my own limitations and creating tapes around that and listening to them, and that really helps me. But if you are not there yet, it's completely fine. You can just listen to the generic ones which are like available on YouTube. Okay, so that's about it. And so if you have your own success stories coming from listening to affirmation tapes, please feel free to drop them down in the comment section below. I would love to read those. But other than that, I will see you guys in my next video.